So I appreciate that very, very much. I'm going to quickly tell you just one thing about my January 6th, which will give you some idea of where I believe we should be headed as a nation. Now, January 6th could be described, at least from my point of view, by the opening line in Charles Dickens' novel, A Tale of Two Cities, the best of times, the worst of times. You may remember that January 5th was our election day in Georgia, where we had 2 Democratic senators. If they won, we knew we'd get back the Democratic majority. Well, I was very nervous. I stayed up all night, watched the results. Tuesday night bled into Wednesday morning. I'm on the computer at 2 a.m. What's the results in Chatham County? How many African-American turnout was there in DeKalb County? Finally, at 4 a.m. in the morning, it's clear that we've won. And we would gain the Democratic majority. I would replace Mitch McConnell as the majority leader. So my first reaction, of course, was just joy. Just unmitigated joy. Every one of you I know has had strong goals in your lives, personal, family, maybe it's professional, maybe it's business. And when you achieve it after a long travail, logs on the path, detours along the way, you feel wonderful. And I felt joy, but immediately almost, I had a second reaction come upon me, strongly and quickly, and it surprised me with its strength and speed. And I tried to find the right word, and a few days later I arrived at it, and I call it awe, A-W-E. Not in the sense my teenage daughters used to use it, gee, that movie was awesome, but rather in the biblical sense. When the angels see the face of God, they tremble in awe. And I was almost trembling, realizing the huge responsibility placed on the shoulders of our Democratic majority, thin though it was, and of course on my shoulders as their leader. And I'd say those responsibilities, those imperatives, fell into 3 categories. The first, of course, was substantive. So much to do that hadn't been done in the past that we had to make up for. Dealing with the fundamental issues and premises of our society, like climate change, like economic inequality, like racial injustice, like perfecting our democracy, which had withered over the previous years, and so many other issues. The second responsibility was sort of political. And that was, so many voters say, doesn't make a damn bit of difference who I vote for. Nothing changes. We had a unique opportunity to show them real change immediately, because we had campaigned on delivering vaccines, delivering checks, getting children out of poverty with a child tax credit. We could produce those things, hopefully. But the third responsibility was the most serious of all, and I'd call it almost a moral responsibility. You probably asked yourself the same question I asked myself. How could 74 million people vote for such a despicable human being as Donald Trump? And I don't care if you're a liberal or a conservative, Democrat or Republican, he is a vile man. He is dishonest. He is divisive. That's what he loves to do, just divide and have people fighting with each other. He's a racist. And he always appeals to the dark side of human nature, which he's very good at, unfortunately. How did they vote for him? And I realized that for too many Americans, they no longer had faith in the American dream. We are a bright, sunny, optimistic country, or have been. But in the last 20 years or so, a sourness has overtaken our land. And people don't have faith in that American dream. If you ask the average American, what is the American dream to you? They'd say, put it simply, nothing fancy. They'd say it means if I work hard, I'll be doing better 10 years from now than I'm doing today, and my kids will be doing still better than me. When people don't believe that, they can turn to a demagogue. And that's what they did to some extent in 2020. But if we didn't have a bold, strong vision, middle class and the people struggling to get to the middle class don't expect us to snap our fingers and make all their troubles go away. But they expect to see progress and hope. And our mission, moral, was to restore that progress and hope so they would never turn to a demagogue like they did in 2016 and almost did in 2020. So those were my feelings, joy but awe. I drive down, I can't sleep, get in the car at 7:30 in the morning, drive down to Washington, get on the floor of the Senate for the first time as the putative majority leader at 1 p.m. We're counting the votes, as you may remember. And within an hour, before even giving my first speech, a police officer in a bulletproof vest with a submachine gun strapped across his waist grabs me firmly by the collar, I'll never forget that feel, and says, "Senator, you're in danger. You gotta get out of here." He had explained to me what the danger was. You may have seen this because the video cameras, the security cameras overhead caught it, and they showed it at the impeachment trial, first time I saw it. But they show me walking out the Senate chamber door, turning to the right, I'm walking briskly with a police officer on either side, go through the door, don't see me for 20 seconds, and then 20, 25 seconds later, we're running out the door at full speed. I was within 20 feet of these insurrectionist, horrible people, these racist insurrectionist bigots. And one of them had a gun, had two of them blocked off the door. Lord knows what would have happened. One of them was reputed to point at me and say, "There's the big Jew, let's get him." Worst of times. Now we're getting back to the better of times. They've arrested about half of those who invaded the Capitol, but more importantly, we've gotten the vaccines out, we've gotten the checks out, we passed the ARP, which helped so many aspects of American life and New York life in particular. Believe me, when I have a little say, I design things to be very helpful to New York. And we have this big, bold, we have this big, bold vision ahead of us, which I think can restore that hope, that sunny American optimism, and that's what we're fighting to do right now. So that's all I'm going to say, because I'd rather spend the rest of the time answering your questions. So I'll let Rebecca recognize people, and feel free to tell me what you have to say. Bye-bye.